All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College online AWD or Application and Web Development 1100 C# programming class for the spring 2024 semester, I'm doing a series of video presentations, mainly based off of the PowerPoint slides for our textbook for the class, which is Muroc C# 8th edition. I've also done videos where I've written some programs, but we're in the home stretch, so to speak, and I'm on the PowerPoints for Chapter 20 of 22 in the book. We went through half of Chapter 20, and we're going to do the rest right now. So it says here, combo box properties for binding. What does that mean? Well, if I come out here and this is the program that is from the book, okay, for Chapter 20 or one of them. I'm going to change this to 8.0 and this to 8.0 and this to 8.0. All right, and then I'm going to go and take a quick look here at the forms. We've got a customer maintenance form. And we have an add modify customer form. So let's look at those. If I look at the customer maintenance form, it says loading. I'm hoping it does. There we go. All right. You'll notice that for this customer ID right here, that's a text box, customer name text box, address text box, city text box, state text box, zip code text box. Okay, let's look at the add modify. All right, now you'll notice if you look here for the state, we've got a drop down. All right, combo box is what it is. And it's got a list of all the states in it, right? All right. Well, if we look at that, all right, so if I come over here, what you're going to notice if I start looking at the stuff that's in here, all right, it's got data bindings. And it says control bindings here, and it's got a name, and it says CBO states. All right. Well, what does that mean? Well, if I run the program, hopefully it'll run with no problem. But if I run the program, all right, and we come out over here and I say to get a customer, all right, it says must be a valid unique value. Okay. Can I just put customer 1 in here? All right, there it is. Now, if I want to make a modification on here, notice there's all my states. So if I want to change this, you know, from Alabama to something else, I'm able to do that right now. All right. And that when you bind, what we're basically doing, for lack of better words, when I say binding right there, is we are saying that we are connecting that combo box to some kind of a database property. All right. Now, the display member and the value member can be different. The display is what you show. The value is what gets stored in the database. What do I mean? Well, the example they give is a perfect example of this, because the display member, for example, could be Alabama, whereas the value member that we're putting in the database might just be AL, all right, the state abbreviation. All right, so here's code as it says that binds a combo box to an entity. So it's setting the data source right there. It's setting the value member, which is customer ID, but then it's setting the display member. Oh, that's even a better example, because what's being stored, what's unique about each person is their ID, but we want to display their name, because if I displayed ID number 1, I might not have a clue as to who that is. All right. So code that binds a combo box to the results of a query. So what we're doing in here is, I believe this is if we add a new customer. All right. So we're adding a new customer ID and a new customer name. So let's look at that. So if we come in here, right here, and we run the program, all right, and I click add, there's adding a customer. All right, let's add me. So if I do come in here, there's Missouri, zip code 63385. All right. And if I click accept, I'm in there now as customer 700. So if I click get customer, it's already got me, but I can make modifications in here now too. So there's actually two addresses, 755 and 751. So if I wanted to change it to 51 and accept, I could do that. You'll notice it's changed, but the one I come out of is actually 755. So I'm going to change it back again, accept, and there we go. All right. So how to assign the entity property names without using string literals. All right, so notice they're using a name of property there. It's smart enough because we bound the customer ID and the customer name in there. They're part of customer. All right, so here's the MMA books data access class. All right. So if we start taking a look in here at a few things, notice here's find customer. And we're running a link query. So we're telling it to find the customer where the ID that we passed in is equal to the ID that's in the database. And it's telling us first or default. Now, if I run this again, all right, we've got it in here. And if I run this, you already saw this. But if I say 700 and I say get customer, there's, oh, it isn't me. I thought it would have been me. All right. Probably this is set up, I'm not sure, so that it's going to be in alphabetic order. I don't know. All right. But let's put in 1 here. All right. This is what we saw before. All right. Now, if I come in here and put in 1 and say get customer, there probably isn't one. So no customer found with this ID. Please try again. But if I put in 11, of course, it'll find somebody. 111, it'll find somebody. Maybe even 1111. Nope. So I don't know how many records are in here. Don't really care. All right. I thought it was 700. I don't think it was 70. Okay. So I don't know how these are ordered in there. I guess I didn't take a look at that. All right. So again, this is finding the customer. Here is the states. So basically, it's, for lack of better words, it's filling up this thing with our states. And when we add a customer, all right, we're expecting probably everything is filled in. I don't know what they considered, if everything was mandatory in there or not. In other words, can I come in here and modify and then remove the address and the city and click accept? No, address is required, city is required. All right, I'll just cancel out of there. All right, so there are smarts built into this program, in other words. Okay. A form that uses the data access class. So what do we have in here? Get customer.click. So this is what's going in there and validating. All right, it's making sure that what we have in here is correct. Updated to handle exceptions. All right. Well, again, What are exceptions? What are bad capabilities? Some of these you've already heard. For instance, if I try to put in a record number that doesn't exist, if I try to update something or insert something and don't enter in all of the mandatory fields, those will all raise exceptions. All right, so finding a customer, updating a customer, removing a customer, etc. All right. Now there's a bunch of code in here that I don't think is going to make a boatload of sense to most people until we get to this point. And then hopefully it will. All right. So again, they call this the customer maintenance form. This has got all of the customer's information on it. All right. So we still are running this. Let's see if we put in a 9, do we get Darrell Roscano? Well, I didn't want to click that. Let me try that again. 9, get customer. There it is. So it's the same stuff. All right, so I can go in there, make changes, etc., if I indeed want to do that. All right. All right. So that's the customer form. That's the add modify where you can make changes and have them show up on here. All right. Now notice on here, one thing doesn't allow you to change the customer ID. You can change the name, address, city, state, or zip. All right, so you can modify those and then click accept, but you cannot change. So once the customer has been put in, their ID is set in stone, so to speak. All right, here's a delete. So let's try to delete. All right. So I will click delete. Are you sure you want to delete Darnell? I'll say no. If I did, I'm sure he'd be gone. All right. All right. So this is the code for that maintenance form. And again, notice what we're doing here. We're setting up the data access, and we're setting up, as it says, a new customer. We're validating the data that's in there. If it's invalid, we're going to be throwing or catching exceptions. All right. And again, like I said, we're validating all the data. And only if it's all good with no error messages are we returning success. Clearing controls does just that, what you'd expect. All right. Displaying customer information. What are we doing? We're copying things over from the database into the text boxes. All right. And this is handling any exception. Here's an add. So again, we have to do a try to make sure we put in all the required fields. Here's a modify, which I believe is doing probably the update. And there's the delete. All right. Now, this has probably been a very short lecture. I didn't know how long this last part would take. And it's only been 14 minutes. Tough nuggies, I guess. It's fine. All right. So this is the code for the rest of it. We will look at it in much more depth and breadth of coverage when we get to that point. Now, before we stop this, let me remove that. Next is chapter 21. So notice what it says here. First of all, there's only half as many PowerPoints, so hopefully I can get through this in one lecture. All right. So how to use ADO.net. This is another way, as it says, to write your own data access code. All right. So we'll come back with that, and we'll look at that in just a couple.